I'm going to talk about in which scenario we need to write Dynamics CRM plugins. So to write to in Dynamics CRMs provides lot of flexibility to write our custom logics inside Dynamics CRM. So we can write our custom logic by JavaScript. We can write custom logics using workflow, using custom workflow and actions, and also we can fire any services or web API from the JavaScript layer. So instead we are writing a plugin, so we need to understand why when we can go for the implement a plugins. So first of all, the first point is that does your action need to happen immediately? Your actions need to be happen immediately. So that means if we consider the above line, in this line, so we can say that in real time workflow also gives the disadvantage, or we can say custom JavaScript code also give you the similar functionality. Then why we are going to use the plugins? First, the main important things that is called transactions and rollback. So what does transaction and rollback? So if you are executing your plugins, that means you are writing your plugins either pre or post event, right? So what does pre and post events? So whenever you are writing any plugins, that plugins will execute in the request of the main request, organization request, where the actual Dynamics CRM request is goes, and this request is there is various stages called pre-validation, pre-operation, post-operations, and main operation, post operation. So these are the stages which go through while plugin is executing. So that means that if any failure occurs, your logic will be rollback. And now the question is that in the real-time scenario also, real-time workflow is also support rollback, also support transaction. But there is a difference. What the difference? So I just want to highlight that what is the plugin transaction layer. So in the plugin transaction layer, what is happening that in the main organization request, the transaction layer is directly associated with the main organization request. As a result, using plugin performance is increased for synchronous job. And then the workflow transactions for real time what is happening here, it will create a separate layer, transaction layer inside the organization request, core operation. As a result, performance wise it's little bit slow. And then the main important things, which is the impersonation. So what does impersonation does? So impersonation helps us to impersonate some of the activity on behalf of another user. What does it mean, right? So it's so for example, user A does not have to update account record. But in our business logic, we need to update account record who does not have the access to update account record for some action. So this is the main advantage the impersonation provide, that is to access instead of not having the access, user can update or delete or any operation can do using the plugins. So these are the two most important scenario we need to remember while we are going to write a plugins. So the next things is that, does your CRM can access by some portal or any services through create, modify, update any record. So now this is the scenario where we can use our custom logic by using plugin. For example, if you are writing a logic inside your JavaScript, so that JavaScript will not fire when some third-party applications will create or modify or update any records, right? And your business logic will fail and for that scenario you should use the plugins. So third one is suppose you want to dynamically calculate the field value when a record is opened, right? Or you create or you could create some auto number functionality in your entities so that we can identify uniquely for this particular record. So in this scenario also we can go for the plugins, and one of the most major and not discussed things by when we can use the plugins, that is the things is that Dynamics CRM support, Dynamics CRM plugin support some messages where we can register our plugins, some unique messages, what I can say, because these messages are not supported by workflow. So instead of create, update, delete, assign, so instead of these, plugin support additional access, additional messages where we can trigger our plugins. So you want to know that what are the messages, right? So that is a grant access. Suppose I have shared one record to another user, so in that moment I need to fire my plugins and my custom logics. Modify access, and retrieve multiple, revoke access. Suppose for example user have some access on records, and once you revoke this access, so by default automatically that records will be assigned to some another users, or so in that case also you can write a plugin for revoke access. Retrieve principal access. So this is the similar kind of retrieve. And retrieve start principal and access. So this is very common, very rarely used. Retrieve start principal and access. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, so it will be helpful for you for in your future development of the plugins. So thank you for joining. Keep learning. Thanks.